Hi, this is Ren,
This is Casey.
and this is All Walks of Film. So Zack and Deborah Snyder just dropped from the new Justice League film. And while first reading that made me really happy. The reasons why, I just kind of feel sorry for them. You know, I'm working on a piece talking about 13 Reasons Why. And, their daughter committed suicide, which I can't even imagine what that must be like to be parents. She was 20 years old. She wrote a lot. One of her biggest idols was Chuck Palahniuk, one of my favorite writers, who wrote Choke and most famously Fight Club. And it's just really sad to see her go. The whole thing is sad. And I think hopefully this opens up dialogue about suicide. But because of that, Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder have had to drop out. Zack Snyder thought he could work through it, but he decided for his family that he wasn't going to. So the movie is practically done.
Kinda.
Like, they're doing a lot of reshoots. I don't know what they're doing. And I've spoken pretty openly about my frustration of the Snyderverse. I don't want any comments that I say after this to taint the tragedy that they're facing, because I don't want criticism to this movie to be solely based on this circumstance. This and the movie have nothing to do with each other, except for the fact that he had to drop out
Of one movie.
Yeah, which still probably means he's part of the universe, but like, we'll see. This sort of thing can eat at somebody. We don't know. So, because of this, Joss Whedon has now been assigned to helm the project.
Yeah, he's been working on writing the scenes that they've been reshooting, which, according to rumors, there's been a lot of on-set rewrites, like a lot of them. And then they've been rewriting the script for the reshoots. Not that there can't be reshoots for movies that still have them be good, even reshoots that massively change the plots, but that doesn't look good for a franchise that still doesn't have any good movies.
This famously happened to Rogue One.
As an example for how to use it for good.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Well, we also don't know how much changed with Rogue One, because one of the things is the ending was always the ending. That's not one of the things that was rewritten or anything like that.
Yeah, I think what they're going to try to do is lighten up the mood, especially getting Joss Whedon. I'm sure there are going to be a lot more quips and things. I mean, more than just the jokes that were in the trailer that we saw.
And to be fair, that might be a good thing, because what's the only good DC film that's come out recently? It's not DCU, but it's a DC.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
It took me a second. Yeah, Lego Batman.
Yeah. And that's pretty much exactly what they did, but to be fair, that's not really an installment in the franchise, though. It's a straight-up parody. It's Spaceballs for Batman.
Even though it has the licensed character in the project.
Yeah, but Lego Batman is totally not Batman. So, I mean, that's not inherently a horrible idea, but I'm a little miffled that, out of anybody who they could have picked, it's Joss Whedon. Because all of my compliments for Joss Whedon aside, he's not a particularly good fanboy. Which, to be fair, at least it's not Kevin Smith, who is, too much of a fan point, to the point of just, eating out the DC's pussy no matter what. Dude, come on. You have a lot of people would argue maybe he doesn't have a standard of taste, but I think he does. Better than a lot of the shit that he claims is good. But it's really bizarre because a couple days ago, on May 19th, actually, it was announced that Zack Snyder, they didn't talk about Deborah at this point, but they said that Zack Snyder was going to be stepping off of Justice League, and that he was going to be replaced by this guy whose name I just can't pronounce, who is in charge of the Flash show.
Jeff Johns?
Is that how you say his name, though? Jeff? Jeff?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It's spelled funny, so I didn't know. But yeah, Jeff Johns, who works on the Flash TV show, the Green Arrow, Green Lantern, I don't know which one's on TV right now, that show, and then the Supergirl show.
Well, Jeff Johns was supposed to be like a creative consultant for the whole thing, because he's been part of this DCU for a while. He's been like one of the head guys with the comics and the comic book movies.
Right, but like a couple days ago, he was going to be the one taking over Justice League.
And that would have been amazing, because let's face it, if there's anybody who knows DC, yes, I know that Joss Whedon says that he loves and knows properties, but there are many times that I see a Joss Whedon property where they talk nerdy shit, and it's like, do you even nerd, bro?
He nerds. In Buffy, he nerds, but, like, he doesn't
really know his stuff that well.
Well, the other thing, too, is he doesn't adapt other people's stuff well. He does his best when he's doing his own thing.
Yeah, with his quippy dialogue and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but also, he works better when he's developing his own characters and his own storylines and his own, like, weird scenarios. And more power to him. But in that case, I think that's what he should be doing.
Do you think this is going to be too much like the Avengers? Because
That's exactly what I'm worried about. Because first of all, the DCU has been trying to catch up to the Avengers for forever. And now they've got the guy who did the Avengers. It's just like, oh, God. The DCU does not need to be Marvel.
And we have a video that we're going to do later on talking about the DCU and what the hell it's doing.
Right.
But this whole circumstance, well, my heart goes out to the Snyder family.
All nine of them.
Wow.
Yeah, because besides their daughter Autumn, they have 7 kids.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, I read an article where they were like, they're kids and stuff. Dude, they're their fucking children. Yeah. Come on, you guys.
But still, even though that's a larger family, that's still a huge loss.
Well, of course, and it also makes it really understandable why they need to take the time off, because they're all dealing with that.
Yeah, and Deborah Snyder is a producer, and she's been a producer throughout the whole thing. For those of you who are not familiar with Deborah Snyder, I know the name Zack...
She's pretty much worked on everything that Zack Snyder's worked on.
Right, but she's not as familiar as of a name.
Right, no, I'm just trying to explain that, like, it's kind of odd that they haven't been, because they're kind of like a power couple. I don't particularly like them at all, but, like, they work together. They do, like, they've worked in the industry together.
It is
and
weird
they've climbed up together.
It is weird that they have not been celebrated together.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the politics of that. It's just interesting. So, this movie is slated to come out in November, which, yes, we have a whole summer, but post-production special effects do take time.
Yeah, well, they should take time. Let's put it that way. Actually, knowing that it's Joss Whedon gives me a lot less hope for that, because you remember the after-credit scene from The Avengers?
No, I don't. Okay. I completely forgot it.
Well, the after-credits, there's a reason why you forgot. The after-credits scene is all the Avengers, and they're in a diner. Oh, and they're exhausted.
Sorry, I was thinking of Age of Ultron. Yes, I
okay, you remember that? Well, it worked out for the best, that particular situation, because that was pretty funny. And I really like it as is, and I'm not going to say that anything else would have been better. But that was not the plan at all. There was supposed to be, like, a whole scene written out of them, like, chatting and having banter in the diner or whatever. And the reason why there wasn't any is because they shot that film the day that the movie was released.
You mean the scene?
Yeah, they shot that scene 5 hours before the worldwide premiere of the Avengers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 5 hours beforehand, they flew everybody in, they got them in hair and costume, and the actors were all jet-lagged, and they were exhausted, and they got put into this diner, and they were just, like, out of it. And it worked out it worked out, and it was okay, and it got edited into the movie, and it actually happened. But at the same time, I'm like, lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. I don't know that you really want to try to make that happen again.
Yeah, and, getting Joss Whedon to come in this late into the game, yes, while he's directing reshoots, and I'm sure there's going to be some tonal shifts just because Whedon and Snyder, as far as tone, clash against each other more than...
Well, I do kind of think that it's bizarre that Joss Whedon, Mr. Feminist himself, would want to work with the most misogynistic person active in Hollywood right now.
I was actually really excited about the Batgirl movie because I thought, oh, well, Joss Whedon can just kind of do his own thing because, Batgirl is a flexible character.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, like, if you want to look at his most notable work on Buffy, Buffy works as a character because she's the stereotype that's put on its head, where it's like, oh, I'm ditzy and I'm dumb and I'm bubbly and I'm popular, but balance it out with, I also have to be really responsible, I have to become strong, I have to learn how to become a real person, and how to adult, and then most of the show is her, not even with the Slayer stuff as much, but just, like, dealing with life, and how to become a grown-up, which, name another strong female protagonist who's that, complicated. I don't say you have to like Buffy as a character, but you have to appreciate her on a writing level. But then to be fair, what's the last strong female character he worked with? Fucking Black Widow, who is dull as driveway gravel, like...
I'm still holding out hope for Wonder Woman, even though my assumption is it's not going to be my taste.
My assumption is that it's going to suck balls and I'm going to hate it. But I'm going to say one thing. I finally saw one thing that got me excited. They released a new poster of her lifting up a fucking tank. And it was awesome. That was awesome. That's the only thing I've seen. And I've seen all the posters, all the trailers, all the promos, all these articles of like, oh, but we find out this and this thing and this is canon, and most notably the whole Chris Pine is the best part of the Wonder Woman movie phenomenon. But this is like one picture where I'm like,
But why does she have to copy Superman? Because that's directly ripping from Action Comics #1, where Superman is lifting a car.
But it's a tank, but is it like the same pose? Is it like pretty much the
Very
same thing?
close to the same pose.
Well, now I don't even like that. Fuck.
I'm sorry, I had to ruin that for you.
No, I'm glad that you did, because that's a good point. I really dislike it when comics do that. I like Wonder Woman as a character in her own right. I don't like her as a clone of Superman, but I also don't like her in a relationship with Superman. It's just like, ew.
Alright, due to the unfortunate circumstances that left Deborah and Zack Snyder to leave the project, what do you think about the future of the DCU? Do you think Joss Whedon was the right pick to replace them? Where would you like to see the DC future go? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.